Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to discuss about another very important topic for Angular directive, or I would say Angular @block directive, where we will learn about the @defer and @placeholder directive. Okay, so in this session, I'll tell you the difference between these two directives. We will try to understand the proper syntax and structure of these directives, and also we will see like why do we need these kind of directives while implementing the Angular projects. Okay, but before we proceed further, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow them sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic, because for time being we are just mainly focusing on how to use @defer and @placeholder directive. Okay, now some of you might be thinking like how we are going to proceed in this session. So we are going to proceed in the very similar way. Firstly, I'll tell you the definition of both the directives that we are going to study today, @defer and @placeholder. Then we will discuss the prerequisites, like we will see if there is any module required or not. Then later on we will try to understand the requirement, because once a requirement is clear, then the things would be more easier for us to decide like what to use and when to use. Okay, all right, so I think now we are good to start with the session. And here what we will do, firstly we will go to app.component.ts file. So here in this ts file, usually what we do, like we import the module here, right? But in this case, in the case of defer and in the case of placeholder, there is no need to use the module. Why? Because by default it comes with the Angular project. So additionally, explicitly, there is no need to import any module. Whereas if we talk about the traditional directives like ngIf, ngIf, there we were using the common module, right? But in case of in case of @block directives, whether it is a @if, for anything, in fact defer or placeholder also, there is no need to import any other additional directive, not directive, module. Okay, so I think this part is clear to all of you that we are not going to import any additional module. And this is a interview question also. Why? Because sometime in interviews they will directly ask you like, do we need to import any additional module in order to use @block directive? So you can simply say no, there is no need. But in case of traditional directives like ngIf or ngIf, yes, there we are supposed to use this. But in case of @block directive, there is no need. Clear? Fine. So let's move to the next part where we will talk about the requirement. So requirement is that I want to declare one variable here. So let's declare it with the name idle, and here I will assign the value as true. Okay, fine. So this is the variable where we have assigned the value as true. Now my requirement is that I want to check if the value of this variable is true. So in that case I want to that means the browser is done with its background processing and is now ready to display whatever I will write inside a block. Okay, but if it is not true, that means if it is not idle, so in that case I will show one message like the page is still loading, or the process is the thing is in progress, something like that. Okay, so for that we just need one variable. So I declared this inside a component.ts file. Now we are good to go to app.component.html. Here we can see we have Angular directives demo by Sharmit, and this is just a heading. So I'll put another heading here just to show you the topic name. And today's topic name is defer and placeholder directive in Angular. Okay, so this thing we will show on the screen. This is the heading. Now once this heading is coming, just after that we will use the @defer. But before that, let's discuss about the definition of it. So if someone asks you what is @defer, so in an easy layman term you can say that it delays showing something until the browser is free or idle. Okay, so basically it delays the process of showing something until the browser is free or idle. The second thing is placeholder. Like, why do we need placeholder? So in that case, and don't get confused with the placeholder, although like it is also similar kind of thing, but in HTML we use placeholder to show something on a what we can say on a field, right? But that is also temporary. So similarly it is also temporary, that's why we are calling it as a placeholder. So in this case it showed this first, like whatever you are writing inside the placeholder will be shown first before the real content, until the real content is populated. Clear? So let's write the logic. So here what I'll do, I'll write defer, okay, and then we will simply enter it. Okay, so here firstly we will write when, and this is a mandatory keyword. Okay, so when idle. So if the browser is idle, so in that case what we'll do, I'll print the message, this is the block of code which will get executed when the browser is free or idle. Okay, so this thing we will show only when the browser is free or idle, or you can say browser, or I think this is sufficient and self-explanatory. This is the block of code which will get executed when the browser is free or idle. So let's try to run this application and see what output we are getting. So ngserve -- open and enter. So once you hit enter, it will take few seconds and then it will check the code. If there is any error, it will throw the error, otherwise it will show the browser as it is doing right now. Okay, so now you can see this is the block of code which will get executed when the browser is free or idle. This message is coming, that means now the browser is idle, and you can see here we have assigned the value as true. So this is basically depend on this value itself. So instead of true, let's say if I make it as false, currently I'm holding only boolean values here. Okay, so if I make it as false, so in that case it will not show anything, only two headings are coming, right? But that block message is not there. Now maybe sometime we need it, yes, for sure, in project, that if it is not in idle state, so by that time like we can show something customized message like page is loading or something like that. So in that case what we can do, we can simply use here loading, not loading, we can show here placeholder. Okay, and in this placeholder there is no need to put any condition, you can simply put one message, page is still loading. Okay, so this message we can show, and now you can see it is showing page is still loading. But remember one thing, this is not a syntax. Okay, this is just something that I put in intentionally, otherwise you can simply write in this way also. But if it is in a loading phase, so I can show it with 3 dots that it is still loading. Okay, so overall what we are doing, we are checking the value of idle. Idle is a variable. Okay, you can keep any variable, it is up to you. Once it is defined, then you can check inside a defer block. If it is true, then in that case it will go simply it will go and simply print the message. And if it is not true, then in that case, until it or unless it is not true, it will show this message, page is still loading. Okay, clear? Now some of you might be thinking like, do we need when keyword? Because in case of ngIf or we can directly put the variable name, but here it is not allowed. You can see it is giving the error. Okay, so make sure to put when here because that is needed. All right, another important thing is definition. So let's say if you want to go with a formal definition, so you can take your mouse cursor here and it will show you a type of block that can be used to defer load the JavaScript for components, directives and pipe used inside a component template. Likewise, we have placeholder, a block of content shown prior to defer loading, which is optional. We saw that, right? If it is not needed, you can simply skip it as optional part, but usually we keep it because until or unless it is loaded, we can show some message. Clear? So yeah, I think these are the all thing which we need to implement in order to build a logic where we will defer we will use the defer and placeholder code. Okay, and in case if you have any queries or questions regarding this particular session, or maybe for any particular other session, so in that case you can simply put it in a comment section, so that if I can help you, I can try to help you in the comments itself. So yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next session with new topics. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.